OpenRouter has an SDK. I deliberately did not use it for GrowthMap, which is my first app that I'm building on my journey to be an AI engineer from senior product manager. And I didn't use the SDK, which you can see on the left hand side here, because I didn't fully understand it and I didn't know what it did for me, and I wanted to do it instead the hard way. So I built the request myself and I specified the endpoint that I need to actually call, along with clearly defining the headers that I need to pass along with the API key, which in this case is a bearer token, and creating a JSON body, right? So I passed this response myself, and while building this I realized that this is what I would call as a plain vanilla way of actually doing an API integration, or and this plumbing is required literally every single time I need to make an API call, an API call, or any external API call for that matter. And here's a choice that I do have, and the choice that I have is where the SDKs finally falls into place, because SDK is not another API, it is just an abstraction layer. It is code that the provider company, in this case OpenRouter, or if it's Stripe, they have written an extraction to just enable their actual API calls, and this takes care of all of your building the actual HTTP post, doing serialization from your in-memory objects to strings, and then doing the byte stream version of it. So instead of building this every single time, you write just a couple of lines of code, and that actually makes the entire HTTP request simpler, and it packages that repetitive work for you. So in a nutshell, it's an engineering choice. I'm still glad I did it the raw way, because I now understand what this version actually hides away from me, and more importantly I can also understand if it's failing where I need to actually look. So the other interesting thing I believe, and I may be wrong with this, is if there's a new API feature, I don't really know if the API and SDKs are released at the same time, which might also be a slight risk we are taking if we are going with an SDK, and our code might actually not be able to, it's so heavily dependent on the SDK that it might not actually have the new API fields or the new API features available for you. So I am going to switch to using SDKs later through as I start maturing in my journey, but right now it's an engineering choice, and it's also changed a bit about how I view LLMs. A model just gives a response, my code is still validating it and storing it. The SDK is just another convenience layer, is how I think about this as. And once you've made the raw call yourself, choosing the SDK is a good informed decision. And the other important thing is I would only probably choose SDKs where the company that's providing the native API itself is very well established. I would look at their release cycles. But for today, this was my attempt at trying to understand what SDKs do, and sharing that with you. Hope it was useful.